All right, Michael. Well, thanks for coming aboard. We're going to start with what we call 5 good questions. These are just quick hitters, just kind of short answer, help people get to know you a little bit better. So start by telling us, what schools did you attend growing up? Like what elementary or middle? And then what was your Hastings High School grad year?
So I started off in Tilden Elementary. We were Tilden Tigers. Got a lot of pride with that. Run into people all the time with kind of that we grew up with, and a lot of pride in Tilden. So, and then went on to the Hastings Middle School and had some memories there, and moved on to the high school.
Grad year was what? 99?
1999.
There we go. In the
Yep.
19s, as the kids call
Yep.
it. All right.
Still.
Yeah, right. Tell us a little bit about your family growing up. Siblings,
Yep.
parents, guardians, kind of extended family around. Where are you in the family order of the Bauers? Kind of walk people through that.
Well, it was a lot of people that are from Hastings know the Bauers are aplenty. Good old German Catholic farmers. There's a lot of them. My dad had over 100 first cousins, so I am really bad with names. I'm great with faces. But at the same time, I have 5 siblings, or four siblings. There's 5 of us. My mother and father, Howard and Patty Bauer. My dad grew up here in Hastings, and my mother moved to this area from Bakersfield, California originally, and then moved to Dallas, Texas, and then moved her way up here. Her dad was kind of like my dad. They were both carpenters, and so had 2 sets of twins and myself. They joke because I'm 6'8", that I ate my twin, and but David and Kathy were 2 years older than me, and Joshua and Jesse were 2 years younger than me. So I was sandwiched in between a set of twins.
There you go. A busy, busy house.
Yeah.
Tell us, what's kind of your earliest sports memory as a youngster, right? As a little kid or elementary. Doesn't even have to be organized sports. Could be just something out in the yard. But when you think of your first
Yeah.
memories of sports, what are they?
Well, I guess my first kind of general memory was just playing catch out in the backyard, baseball. My dad would just throw the ball up, and Dave, my older brother, and I were pretty competitive, and we'd just fight for every ball. And he was much bigger, but my first kind of competitive aspect outside of just family stuff was not getting picked for kickball when I was in elementary school. And I remember looking at every single person that was on the field and wanting to destroy them, athletically speaking, not physically. And I kind of made a vow to myself that I was going to be the best athlete that anybody in these parts has seen from that point forward. And I was pretty tenacious after that goal from that point forward, to started recording how many balls I kicked over the fence from that point forward on the back of my textbooks, and just little things like that, just anything to keep that light burning of the competitive spirit.
Right on. One of those earliest experiences are so formative,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, they are.
What was your first job, either as a kid or as a professional? First job.
Actually, well, I guess we'll put it both ways. My first job as a kid was detasseling corn with Eddings. And so anybody that has done that, you probably woke up way before the sun came up, and we're out in the fields getting all that morning dew dripping down your boots, and doesn't matter what you wore, it never really protected you from the water on the corn. So pulling off tassels and throwing them at people when I got bored with it, and always trying to have fun, smiling, laughing, joking, playing. And but my first professional job, as far as basketball went, was actually for a team in Luxembourg, which is one of the richest countries per capita, but it was not very rich as according to basketball talent. So I thank God I was able to kind of make my way through a rough first year professionally, and coming off the back of some injuries in college, and after I got through that first year, I was able to find a good team in France, and then I had a very good, respectable career after that.
Yeah, awesome. And then tell us just what are 3 of Michael Bauer's favorite things? Could be favorite foods, favorite movies, favorite time of the year. Just what are your 3 favorite things?
Well, I would say probably movies, Tombstone, food, pizza, and beer. I've traveled all over the world, and I have learned to really enjoy a good beer.
Appreciation for that. Fair enough, man.
Yeah.
So what I want to do is walk back through a little bit more. Let's go a little deeper into kind of just your influences and your journey coming through the high school, right, and then into your collegiate and
Right.
professional sports career a little bit. Maybe just give us a brief walkthrough of your kind of your youth sports journey. So, like, what kind of sports did you try when you were a kid?
Yep.
Right, when you got into the middle school, what were you involved in? And then, of course, as you progressed into high school, I know, of course, about your basketball and track and field
Right.
accomplishments, but kind of just paint the picture for people a little bit what that was like for you working your way through.
We grew up playing everything out in the country. Just had footballs, baseballs, frisbees, anything. Rocks, pieces of a tree. It didn't matter what it was. I enjoyed throwing. So in my whole life, I've been throwing things sometimes at people. Found out that that's not always preferred, but anything from learning how a frisbee catches air to learning how to skip a rock on water to shooting a basketball either outside in the wind or off a glass fan backboard versus off a square backboard. And so like the variety of ways to throw things and to move my body around things was something that I always even at a very young age I took a deeper look at why and how I could. And I think that allowed me to mentally engage into the games that I was playing and be able to take different skills from each and kind of blend them into other things. So I was able to do track and field and basketball throughout high school and middle school. I did cross country running. I was going to my senior year in high school. I decided to not do track because I did a lot of triple jump and different things like that. But I started having some pains from the hitting my feet on the pavement, and I just didn't want to mess with it when I already had a good full ride for baskendall. But I thought about doing soccer, and I was going to be a goalie, and I was like, yeah, why not? Might as well do it. And,
yeah.
But I ended up breaking an ankle before my senior year. Just dunking a basketball game in a summer camp, made 2 free throws afterwards and had to limp over. So that kind of took my ability to try soccer out of the picture, but it ended up working fine. So but I was able to be ranked number 1 in the world. And when I was in middle school, jumped 6'4" when I was 6'4" in 8th grade. And it was kind of fun because my older brother, David, who ended up being a state champion, he actually got to be the ref of that meet as well. So he reffed me and judged my world record jump for a child that age at that time.
Well, and to interject,
for that year.
Yeah, and people that know you and your family, and of course know David, know that it was probably tougher for you having him be the judge than it would be him trying to get you. There's no messing around, man. He's going to make you earn it twice, probably, right?
Yep, exactly. So that was pretty fun. I hold the middle school high jump record. David owns the high school high jump record, and I, since I already had the middle school one, I when I got to high school and I was going after his record, I always, instead of matching it at 6'9", I'd always set the bar at 6'9.5", because I told them there's no way I'm putting my name next to yours. It's either going to be above yours or not on there. Right.
So walk people through a little bit. So track and field, you did some triple jumping, a lot of high jumping. Kind of what were your? Do you remember what your best distances were? And did you have a couple state meets in there?
I did high jump in the state meet. Missed it my sophomore year. Just by 1 scratch. It was almost going to be David and myself going to state my sophomore year, but I missed it by 1 scratch to go my sophomore year. My junior year, I ended up had a guy from North Branch that actually cut me off on my only scratch and kind of interrupted my jump. And I should have not jumped. I just thought if I did attempt, I could take it back because he interrupted my progress. And the judge said, no, you get penalized for that because you could have stopped. So I ended up had the best jump in the state, which was 6'8", which is what I jumped that day. But the guy that ended up winning state my junior year, he PR'd by 4 inches that day. So his best ever was 6'4", and he PR'd by 4 inches, and he was so jacked up and hyped to PR by that much off on my run. So, I don't have any excuses for it. It just, I failed, but it allows you to grow and take on other ways of seeing things and pushing yourself in other ways. So
that's right. Well, I love letting people hear that about your track and field experience, because of course most people will remember you or know you for what happened on the basketball floor. So you're a 4-year varsity basketball player, first conference championship team on the boys side, and almost 50 years. When you were a junior, back-to-back section championship game appearances. What do you remember most about your high school basketball career in general? Anything that sticks out to you in particular?
Well, I have a picture of myself actually slam dunking my last basket against Tartan, and you're actually in that picture. And so just see the elation of everybody, but also the frustration as well. And because that was a pretty hard loss, but I had a lot of very good memories. I was a freshman playing on a team when they told me the previous coach wouldn't allow a freshman to play, and then I played. So I got the opportunity. By my sophomore year, I had a 52-point game against St. Anthony, and that was a lot of fun. Played on the Target Center, played some games on the Williams Arenas floor, and a lot of big games against St. Thomas Academy and Tartan, and had a big game. A lot of these guys' names I don't really remember anymore, but I remember playing games and 14 blocks down in Northfield, and there was we played a game against Simley. You probably remember his name, big dude. That was sophomore year, I think. Oh man, I remember his face, but I haven't thought of this guy for years. But anyway, so it was a really big game, and he was a big body guy, and we were just as a team, and then also kind of my athleticism was able to shut down this guy, and then the team was able to capitalize in key moments, and so it was a lot of hard work. Having Slokowski would throw that weight vest on me, and we'd run laps in the old high school, and just be feeling that whole floor bouncing as you're running down these hallways with a weight vest on, and the whole team's trailing right behind you. And so it was a lot of fun. There was a lot of real good memories back in those days.
Well, I appreciate some of those. I just want to restate them so people really know what you mean. I know what you mean because I saw almost all of what you just described, but
yes.
The current middle school, which used to be the high school, which is where you went to high school, one of the things that we would do once or twice a week was conditioning up on the second floor. And you guys would literally run laps around the high school. So for those folks who are listening, they can visualize what that's like. First of all, it's not a short lap. Second of all, it's a little tougher if you're wearing a weighted vest on a 6'7" or 6'8" frame. And thirdly, you are 100% right. You can feel that floor bounce up and down. You're not kidding.
Yeah.
The other thing is I have vivid memories of the 52-point game. So I want people to listen to that for a second. It was a 52-point high school game. There were 8-minute quarters. It was a 32-minute game. And the reason, I remember it for a number of reasons, but one reason is that it was my job to keep the scorebook. And I think you had 20 something in the first quarter. I literally ran out of room. I didn't even know how to fill out the dang scorebook right, because you kept hitting threes.
It was everything. Yeah, I think I only missed a free throw in that whole game. I think I was maybe it was 1 or 2 shots, maybe, but I didn't miss much that game. It felt like the hoop was a big kiddie pool. It was pretty easy to make them.
Well, there's that one, and then you said you had 14 blocks in a game at Northfield, and for
Yeah.
folks that were there too, it wasn't like they were just blocks for fun. You guys won a tight game at the buzzer. I mean, you needed
Yeah.
every single one of those blocks. I
Yep.
mean, your
Yeah. And they had
statistics
a
were
pretty
not just for fantasy basketball. They had a huge impact on the
on the
team's
game.
performance
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. It was always kind of funny. Who was the Timberwolves big white guy who played for the Timberwolves just a couple of years ago? Could soak up just a ton of points. Then he ended up going and playing with KG,
Kevin Love.
With Kevin Love, yes.
Yeah.
So I always watched Kevin Love play, and it was just amazing that he could fill in a stat sheet, but he'd never help the team win.
Mm-hmm.
Like the teams never won, and he never, like the way he played, he could. Those intangible ways were just he added to the team, but at the same time, it didn't help the teams win. And
Right.
And my goal wasn't ever to fill up a stat sheet. I could never care less about that. And if whether I had 5 points or 52 points, it never made a lick to me. Never mattered at all. It was all about winning. And because for me, one reason I fell in love with basketball is because it's just kind of like life. You don't get anywhere by yourself. You either pull the people along with you, or you surrender to it and stay where you're at, or go back. And
Right.
And so basketball was always something that I loved, because it was a challenge to pull people along with you, but also to do the best you could at making others better. And
for sure.
And within the game, I found plenty of different ways to hustle, dive for loose balls, take charges, score points, block shots, or there's so many different ways to positively affect the end result of a game that for me it was just a pleasure to do it, where I played with a lot of guys that their focus was more on themselves, and it was amazing to see how they could fill up a stat sheet, but they didn't help the team win ever.
Right.
Or rarely.
Right. No, you said it well. And I think for the basketball fans in particular that would listen to this, I mean, you really were kind of like a stretch four before a stretch four was a thing. When people watch
like
college or pro
the Dirk
basketball now,
of the world.
Yeah, they're tall, long players that can shoot and dribble and do a lot of things. But the game was just more traditional 20, 25 years
Correct.
ago, even at the high school level. And so you were doing things that with your height and frame, hitting 3-point shots from 4 feet behind the line and then putting the ball on the ground and getting to the rim in one dribble, and things that, was just really unorthodox at the time. But I appreciate how you highlighted a number of other things. You were never afraid to set a screen. You were in the top 2 or 3 on the team and taking charges when you certainly could have been exempt to just jump and block the thing. But when that was the right play, you made the right play. And I think people that would have watched you came to appreciate that. And it's a reason why, you guys won 90% of the games that you did in your, 3+ years there. But I appreciate the context of, kind of the team aspect. Give me 1 or 2 players that were some of your favorite teammates. Maybe give me and this could have been middle school, high school, basketball, track and field. Just who are a couple of your favorite teammates? Why would they be your favorite teammates? What'd you learn from them, or why'd you enjoy playing with them?
Well, I'd have to say, even though my older brother David and he was my first teammate, because he wouldn't take no crap. So he'd throw a football at my face 100 miles an hour, and if I didn't pick it up or I'd jam my finger, he'd call me out for being a wuss. And so he challenged me, but at the same time, it was through a really dark way of building me up. but sometimes you need that in life too. But I had them, in high school, kind of more of like the Mark Johnsons of the world, where he and I were, dunking. We had little guy dunking and a big tall guy dunking at a time when not a lot of kids really dunked, especially in, majority of white schools down here in, corn country. So, that you get to high school or get to college, Dusty Reichert, he's one of the guys that just stuck out really, a lot. Oops, sorry, I got a call.
Oh, you're good. I can still hear you.
Okay. But yeah, so I having Mark Johnson with, going from that, and Dusty Reichert going up to the University of Minnesota. He was always a great teammate. I actually was my roommate, Kevin Burleson, JB Bickerstaff, really, really good guys. Trevor Bennett, and then going in career. Ricardo played for Pittsburgh, and he's one of the French all-time best players ever. Look him up. He's got a phenomenal history over in Europe. And just I was so lucky to play with so many talented guys, and again, so many talented guys. Played against. Played a couple of times with KG, and I had basically no ligaments holding my right ankle together, but he was like, "Hey, this white boy can play," and so it was, I got to play with one person removed from almost everybody in basketball, which was a true pleasure. I've between who I knew and who everybody I knew, that was pretty much the entire basketball world. So I got to stop you for a second,
because we're gonna come back to it. When did you play with Kevin Garnett?
We just played we played in summer ball just while I was up at the University of Minnesota. So it was he'd just come down and instead of playing up at the Target Center, they had Lifetime Fitness and all that up there, but anytime I'm down, because we never had the air conditioning, we'd sweat. But yeah, we got great workouts in, good runs, and just freelance games, good pickup. I remember Mo Hargrove threw a ball up one time and tried lofting it over KG, and KG took it off the top of the backboard, blocked it at like 14 feet up in the air, and it was like, what in the hell? Like, I've seen it dang near everything on a basketball court, but that was pretty special.
That's awesome. So I want to come back to that in a couple minutes, but tell me, so in the mode of the high school stretch there, that grade 9 through 12, because we'll have a lot of people listening that are either high school athletes themselves or their parents of high school athletes, but what was your own improvement process like as a high school athlete, right? What was your training like? I mean, how did you get better? What habits did you use to grow? Again, that's all in the 16 or 17-year-old brain, but I mean, what was it like for you in terms of getting better?
Well, the mentality of I've done a lot of basketball camps and throughout my time, and what I try to tell people is it has to be a borderline obsession, if not an obsession, to achieve anything in life of significance. And there's got to be some luck involved. There's got to be some natural talent, and if you don't, but above and beyond anything, if you don't have the work ethic to position yourself for the possible benefits that could arrive in your life, you're not preparing yourself for them. So therefore, you're probably not going to have as many of them as you could have. And for me, it literally went kind of, when I look back on my life, just like I said, even the tenacity ever since I was a child of even throwing rocks in the backyard. I had a dedication and a focus mentally to achieve what I wanted to achieve. It didn't matter if it was a minor, small task or a big task. It was, this is going to get done. It's just a matter of how am I going to figure it out? But it's little things like, I turned my ankle when I was in middle school and I couldn't run. But I found a way to work on my ball handling skills by just sitting in a chair and dribbling around it, and, finding anything at any time to do. If you find yourself bored in life, instead of sucking down a 2-liter bottle of pop and plugging on a TV or checking out your phone, get off your butt and go do something and try to make yourself better in some facet. It doesn't matter which facet it is, but you go to these camps and you see these kids and they don't even want to run hard to the other end of the court once, let alone enough times to achieve what they call the goals. So you got to be realistic, but you also got to hold yourself accountable. I was lucky enough to have multiple people, not just myself, hold myself accountable throughout my life, but I've also had family, friends, coaches, and other people as well. Just fans that would, they didn't know me from Adam, but they'd incentivize me at times to be able to push through things, and it happened from a young age, and it just, thank God I was able to carry it throughout the rest of my life as well.
No doubt. I mean, there's just a ton of great perspective there. I appreciate how you package that. Any, just for fun, you talk about all the different influences. I mean, you have to have, of course, there's that innate piece of it. There's the nature nurture component, right? So,
Correct.
who would you, I mean, I know you've talked about David a couple times already. Who else would you say kind of helped that growth for you along the way? Anybody stick out? Any family or friends
Well,
or
I would say
coaches that kind of?
I would say my dad and my older brother are my formative people that I learned most of my lessons from, that really formed me before I really even ever got to any sort of level of interest. Being a small town kid from Hastings, nobody ever expected me to do much, especially in regards to basketball. We're a football, wrestling, hockey town, and then I came in, and when he was I think it was a sophomore, I was probably in 6th or 7th grade, and that was 5 years behind him, so whatever that is. And I remember seeing him dunk on right on what was his name? You played with him. You know who I'm talking about, the big guy, that Jamie Nelson.
Oh yeah.
For
sure.
Yeah, so I was at the game, saw Arnie Carlson up in the stands with Clem Haskins, and he dunked on Big Jamie, and the whole crowd, even Hastings fans, we hated Cottage Grove at that time, but everybody went nuts. That was cool as heck. And then all of a sudden, a couple of years later, there's Arnie and Clem up in the stands watching me play, talking to my mom, and I was like,
"That's right.
This is a full circle." So it's But if I wouldn't have done all the things that I did and had been pushed by the people that pushed me, there's no way I would have been able to achieve much of what I was able to achieve. And there's always going to be regrets in life, but I feel pretty fortunate, even though that I had a lot of setbacks. I feel like I learned what I needed to have through those setbacks to be able to, get a great set of life experience.
Yeah, I'm with you. Well, in general, what did the community of Hastings mean to you growing up here, playing sports here, being able to represent the school and the teams you played on? What was it like?
Yep.
Now, once you had a chance you've been around the block more than twice, man. You've had some incredible experiences. What does the community in general mean to you when you look back at that?
Oh, it was a blast I was kind of a shy little kid, not so little, skinny, more so than little, but I was a shy, skinny kid, and I kind of used sport to be my outlet, to express myself, and it kind of went through a phase where there wasn't as much attention through moving around in the world as a young child, and then you kind of start taking your place and working into things. And I was always supported by my teachers. I was pushed by them as well academically, even though grades came pretty easy to me. I've never had to study really in my entire life. I just have to go to class and pay attention, and I'd be able to retain it. So I'm kind of lucky in that regard. But my teachers would always push me for more. I'm like, you can do more. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm getting an A. You know how that goes being a teacher.
Oh, yeah.
So, but yeah, I've always had really good support, whether it's being in school, through coaches, teachers, things of that nature, to talking to people within the community before games or after games. I always, it meant a lot to me that they would invest a moment into me, let alone take an evening or a couple of evenings a week or several evenings a month onto all the time that they'd spend watching me play or coming and watch me practice or watch the team practice. And so that just those little things, I've always seen them, valued them, and tried to do my best to kind of return an appreciative spirit back to to the community. So I'm not now that I've amateur into professional other industry, my willingness and eagerness to just go out into the community a lot now is, I've kind of become a little bit more of a homebody, and I'm not definitely searching for a lot of people to be around me all the time. So it's kind of coming full circle a little bit in that regard.
Yeah.
I like smaller groups, bonfires, guns, chainsaws, outdoors, things like that. So,
well, it might be a perfect segue because, I mean, you have had a chance to play on a lot of stages, and I use that literally and figuratively. So let's transition a little bit. Talk us through, you graduate in 99, you have an incredible opportunity. You're a Division I full scholarship student athlete at the University of Minnesota, right? You played for the Golden Gophers. You're recruited by Clem originally, right? But you talk about the coaching staff shift there, but just walk us through what was that collegiate experience like for you, right? And kind of what sticks out to you in terms of maybe fondest memories, biggest takeaways. Tell us about your time at the U.
Well, since there will be probably some children watching, I'll keep it PG. And we had a very I got to leave playing Hastings kind of on a sour note in regards to not getting to state. It is what it is. But Jake Sullivan's team with Tartan ended up being able to push it on through to state that year, but I was pretty excited about being able to just go up and play for Clem Haskins. And 2 weeks before that, found out that there was a huge academic scandal going on in the program. But Coach Haskins actually requested when I committed to him that before I did give him my answer, that I realized the significance of what he was asking of me. And I don't know if he knew it was coming or not with the scandal, but he said, no matter what happens, I want you to know that you're committing for the town of Hastings, you're committing for the state of Minnesota, you're committing for the University of Minnesota, and you're committing for your friends and family. And this commitment isn't something I want you to go back upon. And for me, I took that, I weighed the weight of it very significantly and then diligently, and was able to come to the opinion that, yes, this is where I wanted to play. So on the back end of all those, all of the academic scandal, there was plenty of opportunities for me to lead the University of Minnesota. And I can honestly tell you, I didn't have the greatest coach in Dan Munson in his replacement. Went from a phenomenal coach in Coach Haskins to someone I didn't nearly learn as much as I should have been able to learn from. But I did have other coaches that I was able to learn quite a bit from through my time, and still gain a lot of insight and experience that helped me, succeed throughout my career. But it was a lot of fun to be able to play in front of friends and family, and in some ways I kind of wish I would have gone to another program that offered me, like the Kansases, the Kentuckys, UNCs, and things of that nature. But I'm very happy that I stayed, having gone through it. Would have been probably easier, probably wouldn't have had as many injuries because of the types of programming that the elite programs have. They probably wouldn't have tried shoving so much weight on me so fast. But at the same time, I have no complaints. I had a phenomenal set of experiences that have allowed these eyes to be able to see so many varieties of people. And I've spoken 5 languages throughout my life. And by my children, I have 2 daughters that live most of the time in France, and I get them back in the summer. And my ex-wife and I have 2 beautiful girls that are just thoroughly connected to me and my family and to life in general. So it's, there's always a reason to hang your head, and just because something doesn't work out the way you wanted it to doesn't mean God didn't have another purpose for you. Yeah.
Well said. Well, staying on the Ghosts for a minute before we transition to the pro part. I mean, I know you said it, and of course you're who you are. You're a humble, hardworking a guy, and I want to restate for people, I think if they want to rewind the podcast, remember, like, yeah, you did have offers from Kansas. Yes, the Jayhawks, right?
Oh
And
yeah,
Kentucky, the Wildcats. And we're talking about ACC and Carolina. And you did make a very conscious choice to play in the Big Ten and play at the U and got to play at home. And for that, me and hundreds and thousands of others got to watch you on TV. We got to watch
Yep.
you in person. You get to attach to your experience a little bit differently. And so I know, for example, that, you had a couple years where you think about this combination for folks that are listening. You're in the top 10 in the conference in 3-point field goal percentage and blocks, right? So you think about the unique combination that you were bringing to the table, and you were second team all Big Ten. You had to fight through some injuries, right? You
Oh yeah.
arguably had, the broken arm at Purdue was probably one of the toughest ones when you were maybe at the top of your game during that
Yeah,
stage.
that one sucked because all the coaches called me up and said they were going to vote for me for freshman of the year in the Big Ten right after I finally worked back from an ankle dislocation that I had to put it back on my own 3 days before my first scheduled college game. So it was like, every time that I was just about to the place I felt like I was going to just break it open and get back to where I wanted it to be from the beginning, I'd have a setback, and then I'd have another one, and then another one. And it's just, you can either take the defeatist attitude, and believe me, there's been plenty of times in my life where I've had it, and but where do you go from there is kind of, kind of the lesson, and so yeah.
So that being said, give us maybe a favorite moment or maybe a favorite game from your time at the U. I know I'm asking you to pick something very narrow, but like, man, I remember this one game, or I remember this one. What would you say?
Yeah,
it
would probably hands down be the game-winning 3-pointer against Georgia.
Okay, so set it up for us, man. Set it up and walk us through it.
Well, the week before, I actually broke my collarbone, and it was I wasn't even supposed to play in this game, but I had a teammate that wasn't overly physically gifted for controlling his weight, and he got his feet taken out from under him, and he landed right on my shoulders as I took a charge, and he jumped up in the air and didn't come back down in an elegant way and broke my collarbone. Thank God it wasn't so bad of a break, but so I didn't get to play a ton of minutes in this Georgia game, and but we're working towards the end, and there's the last play, and my coach had me as the shooting option, but it was supposed to go to Kevin. I was a secondary shooting option because I'd been coming off. Normally I would have been the first, but Kevin Burleson was supposed to take the shot. He just couldn't make it. So I ended up getting the ball after an inbounds play with like 2 seconds left. And so I got the ball, was able to make one dribble and just kind of get the guy off balance just enough to be able to get a shot off. And when he did that, he actually slapped my right contact out of my eye because I had contacts back then. And so I couldn't really see, and it just kind of hung on the rim. And then all of a sudden the ball like dropped, but I couldn't tell if it dropped off the front edge or off into the hoop. And but then the whole arena just went bonkers, nuts, and I knew it went in. So I just started running with my arms wide open, just in jubilation, and my teammates mobbed me, and then and this was all on live TV, and fans started running onto the court, and they mobbed me, and all of a sudden I realized this jerk was rubbing my head so dang hard, and I look up and it's my brother David. So he's sitting there rubbing my head, and he's a police officer now, a cop. So him and his wife Laura, who we met while I was playing for the Gophers, so one of the cops grabbed him by his belt buckle, pulled him off the floor away from me, and he's like, yeah, thumbs up in the air as he's getting pulled by a cop back. And there's like thousands of people on the court, but they ended up pulling my brother from me because they thought he was probably hurting me or something. I don't know. But awesome. But yeah, we had that party didn't end till the next morning.
Yeah, fantastic. So walk us through then. Post collegiate, you have the opportunity to play professionally, right? And to be able to, get paid to play a game that you love as a kid.
Right.
What a game changer. Just walk us through that journey a little bit. Where'd you play? How long did you play there? And again, any takeaways or kind of biggest memories you want to share with us?
Yeah, I guess. Well, I had a game winning three against CSKA Moscow, and if anybody wants to do some looking up, go look up Euroleague, and one of the best teams ever in any level of basketball. CSKA Moscow could have challenged some of the greatest NBA teams. They were that good, and they had won 72 consecutive EuroLeague competitions. Which, if anybody has any idea about European basketball, it's that is unbelievable. The level of talent in the EuroLeague is phenomenal, and they won 72 in a row. And they came to. I was playing for Po, where I met my ex-wife, mother of my children, that year. But I ended up beating CSKA at our facility in Po on within the last 30 seconds, and we ended up beating this team for the first time in 73 games. So that was a big one. Won my first championship in 2008 with Nancy, which is in the northeast of France, and we had a very good team. That's where I played with Cyril Julian and the Greer brothers, and a lot of good players. I could go on for forever going through rehashing who I played with or against, but those, the first championship, nobody can take that away from you. It's something special, and I was fortunate enough to have two. I won a championship in Po when I went back there. That was one of my last second to last year playing, and made an all-star team. Had a lot of individual accolades and all of that, but for me, by the time I had some issues with injuries throughout my college career that I didn't know if those injuries would prevent me from being able to move forward the way I kind of wanted to. But I was able to get my body prepared and my mind prepared to be able to approach a professional career, and thank God I was given an opportunity to just keep putting myself out there enough and got seen, and then was able to capitalize on those opportunities. And I've my passports are thick with a lot of stamps. I've been all over the world, been able to drink with some phenomenal people, have wonderful meals with wonderful people, some related to basketball, some just wonderful human beings that I met along the way. The level of experiences and the culture that I received, the enjoyment of being able to take advantage of, is way better than any NBA life, in my opinion. And I'm very pleased I was able to capitalize on the life that I got to live, because it's not over, even though I'm over 40 now, and I am considered old. I still I'm looking forward to continuing the journey, but the journey I've had to date so far has been truly a God's gift.
Yeah. How many years did you play pro basketball in Europe?
I played 8 years, just under 8 years.
Almost
I had a herniated disc,
awesome.
and I had to play my last 3 with the severed ligament in my ring finger on my left hand, which anybody ever come see me in public, feel free to see my ugly hands. I'll show it to you. I'm not ashamed of anything, but yeah, I got some ugly hands from broken and dislocated every single finger at least once. So,
all right. So let's fast forward to today, right?
Yes.
You've got two, they say beautiful little girls, right? You're imagining that dynamic between France and the U.S. But basically tell people, like, what are you doing today? Where are you? What are you most passionate about or looking forward to? Where are you today, man?
I actually am a lead dispatcher for Wayne Transport, right over here on 52 and 42. My oldest friend outside of my family is a guy named Cole Seamers, and I grew up with Cole. He and I were our arch nemesis growing up at Tilden. Just a lot of years that we didn't want to talk to each other, but we remained friends through the whole thing. And we absolutely, kind of like my older brother, I hated him for a long time, but through that competition, that stiff, aggressive competition, we were able to find a brotherly love, not only with my actual brother, but now my friend that I work with, and his family's been running this company for since 1950, and they do transportation of products, but I dispatch petroleum products, so airports, farms, gas stations, different things like that. So I just tell all my drivers where to go, what to get them, what to bring them, and how to, anytime they have a question, I got to find the proper response to help them find the solution. So I've got a very logical mind, so dispatching and mapping things out in my head kind of works. So I'm actually pretty good at it, but so yeah, it's kind of fun to be able to move into a different facet post basketball. I've been doing that my whole life, and with academics to some extent too. Well, definitely a large extent, but that was what I did my whole life. And I had visions of things after basketball, but the transition after basketball was painful. It really tested my character, and it still is to this day. It's something that, when you do anything for that long and it's that big of a part of your life and you want to go in a different direction, then, it's going to kind of challenge you in a lot of cool ways. So
that's right.
I'm very, very pleased to have been able to move past basketball in a lot of things. My favorite thing to do is probably have a good beer around a bonfire and listen to music. But as far as activity wise, it's actually holding a chainsaw and working with wood. So cool. I would say that's probably the thing I kind of, outside of, the obvious things like, experiences with your children, seeing them grow. I would say on an individual basis, it's probably more of just, being out in the woods and having a chainsaw in my hands.
Yeah. So in what ways would you say that your high school sports experience or sports experience in general, how does it still impact you today in a positive way? Things you've learned or things you've experienced?
Yeah, well, I think it's just those lessons of, what that it doesn't matter what anybody looks like or how they behave on an outward area. It's really what their grit and what what makes them up as more of their character. An individual's character is how I pay attention to people, and people that don't show me that they have good character aren't around in my life for very long. And people that have excellent character, they become mainstays typically pretty often, and or at least come in and out of my life quite frequently from that point forward. So I would say through my experiences through high school is observing people's character and being careful with who you let in your life, because the people that are there to build you up will build you up and will push you to improve you as a person. And people that are going to just draw from you to take from you, they're not going to be there for you in the end.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you kind of started, you're helping me transition kind of into our final segment. One of the things that we really like to do.
And you did not give me questions.
I know, you're right. You're right. You've crushed this, man. Well done. So what I like to do kind of at the end here is just allow you to kind of share words of wisdom or pieces of advice, right? Traditionally, most of our audience is going to be, well, I shouldn't say most, a lot of our audience is going to be sports parents, right? They may have a fifth grader, a seventh grader, an 11th grader. So let's start with that group. If you were talking to a sports parent of a middle school or high school kid today, what are a couple words of wisdom or a piece of advice you would give a sports parent, and why?
I would say do not blow smoke up your kid's butt. If your kid is not working hard, be honest with them and tell them they are not working hard. If they are working their tail off and not that good, continue to encourage them and continue to work with them. If they're excellent at things, don't shower them with praise. Push them to improve in other ways. I think as parents, we're there to build our kids up and push them. You gotta give them kindness, but you don't want to raise a baby. So I would say be as honest and forthcoming with them, and because they're going to have to deal with it in the real world as well. So every coach that kind of kissed up to me, I didn't gain as much from it as I should have been able to. So don't be afraid to push your children, especially nowadays in this day and age. They're so used to sitting in front of a screen with a can of Coke, as opposed to getting pushed outside or getting their butts slapped to get outside and go do something. So get them out of the house, get them into activities, either mental or physical, whatever they enjoy, but push them. Don't just let them sit around and collect dust, because they'll just turn into a book.
So then let's different part of the audience, right? Let's say it's that student athlete now, right? It's an 8th grader. It's an 11th grader. It's somebody that only even knows your name by seeing a picture on the wall, right? They wouldn't know you otherwise. But now listening to this, knowing a little bit about your background and your roots and kind of where you've had an opportunity to go, same thing. What words of wisdom or piece of advice would you give to a high school athlete listening to this?
Yeah, I would say priority number one, if you ever want to play sports and at any level, D3 or just even in high school, you're going to have to focus on your grades. It doesn't matter if you like it or not. There's plenty of things when you get to the real world that you're not going to like, but your employer is going to request of you. So, if you want to do something in life, it takes commitment to many different things. And even a bunch of things you don't like to do. I hated running. Unless I had a ball in my hand and I was playing a game, like running to run that I wanted to do and reach the goals that I wanted to reach. It was an inevitability that I had to suffer these things. I think it's a lot easier for people to decide that they just don't want to suffer things that just, and that sounds hard. Well, their life is full of opportunities to come up with an excuse. And I would say don't look for excuses. There's always an opportunity for excuses. Look for a reason to push yourself through something you don't want to do. And then I would say kind of a big part of how I feel like my life was very well benefited was it extends further into society, but respect your father and mother. I think that's something that after education, probably before education, if you respect your parents and they're giving you their best, return it. It'll even when you don't think you should, it'll pay dividends for you long term.
Awesome. Well, the final thing I would add, I'll just give you the mic for a second. This has been, like I say, completely unscripted. I certainly had a number of things I wanted to ask you about. Final word, anything else you want to add that I didn't ask you, or you feel like you'd want to say that maybe I didn't prompt you for?
Trent Hansen was my favorite assistant coach.
You'll find that $100 bill in your mailbox. Thank you.
No, it's great seeing you, man. Nice
You
talking
too.
with you and getting some chat in. So
appreciate it, man.